The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Elite Shotgun. They stand behind you. And is fueled by Fiocchi.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast. Coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays.
Ben Hustway.
Each short Hawaiian person would have to fight 14 kangaroos.
Let's get Anthony on the phone.
You're making a big mistake, okay?
Yeah. We're talking Gianna Santo tonight.
Well, I have something, but I don't know how much everyone's going to like it.
I was not ready for that.
With your hosts, Jason Rambo.
You just didn't want my wife to edit something else you did.
And Sean Alley.
Gotta keep it PG-13, man.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair Podcast. And now, it's showtime.
Welcome back, everyone. What's up, Mr. Large and in charge?
Jason, doing okay, buddy. How have you been holding up?
We got lucky. That hurricane ripped through here, and I mean, it was pretty scary for, I'm going to say 18 hours or so. We got really, really lucky, but the people around us didn't fare too well. Not necessarily wind damage as much as it was just the water level, you know. I mean, there's houses right down the road here that had 4 foot of water in them. So
yeah, it
was, you know, and I'm sure that's, you know, as you travel northward, you know, I know John Woolley, you know, he got hit pretty hard. Thoughts and prayers to the Woolley family. You know, and going on up into Georgia, you know, I had customers that they got traps flattened by trees, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm sure there's people in the shooting community that were affected by it for sure.
Well, it was a major storm. I mean, I was even watching the news the other night, and as far up as Tennessee, people were affected up there. Carolinas were hit really bad. My great aunt lives over by Hilton Head. She got hit pretty hard. Nothing drastic happened to her house, but you know, it was bad for everybody. And our hearts go out to everybody that really got hit by it, because obviously nobody needs to deal with that kind of crap.
Right. Well, if anybody's listening to this, you know, if somebody in the shooting community needs help, you know, there's always our Facebook public group page that we have. Don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, this shooting community is the most awesome community, the best people I've ever been in any form of sport ever. And I'm sure, you know, there's something we can do to help somehow, some way. So if somebody needs something we can do to help, let us know. Reach out to us privately if you want, or you can, like I said, that's, you know, our Dead Pair public group page on Facebook. That's what it's for. So anything and everything.
Yeah. And absolutely. I would say that would be a great resource for anybody that's like in a specific area. So if you're a shooter and you're in a specific area, get on our Facebook page. And if you need something, you know, if you need gas, fuel, food, something like that, there might be another shooter that's in your area nearby that could potentially help you. Because again, we say it time and time again, fantastic community. A lot of people out there just ready to help at the drop of a hat. So
absolutely. Well, hey, Sean, moving on to bigger and better things. We have a tourney talk to get to.
Yes, we do.
It's Tourney Talk. Brought to you by Score Chaser.
All right, guys, the 2025 Wyoming State Championship is open for registration. This shoot will be held at Cody Shooting Complex. That is July 16th through the 20th. Also, the North Central Regional, it is open for registration, will be held at Game Unlimited. That's August 6th through the 10th. Again, that is 2025.
Awesome. Well, Sean, we got a big roundtable tonight. We're going to have Mr. Scott Dixon of Rhino Chokes joining us, along with Cory Kruse, man that needs no introduction, and Mr. Joe Charnigo, first time on the Dead Pair podcast. Big time trap shooter, but he obviously dabbles into sporting clays quite a bit. Shoots very well. In fact, he just won, was it the Redbird Classic at Cardinal Center this past weekend?
Yes, he did, and he's a very competitive shooter in both trap and sporting.
Yes, so going to get them on to talk about some new chokes from Rhino, some of the new Elite Series chokes, which is awesome. Sean and I personally use them, love them. Of course, the Rhino barrel porting. Sean, honestly, can you honestly see yourself shooting a gun without Rhino barrel porting in competition?
Once I got it done, I had my reservations at first, like many people do.
I know. I remember talking you into it.
And then once I got it done, I will never own another competition shotgun without the Rhino barrel porting. No way.
I've had countless people reach out to me, whether coming up to me at a shoot or calling me, texting me, emailing me, asking me about it. And every single one of them that's done it's never regretted. You know what? Chad Roberts is one of them. You know, he's like, you know, you really don't notice it on the lighter 1 ounce loads, but when you get into the heavy ounce and eighth loads or something that's a real heavy 1 ounce load, meaning fast, you can definitely tell a difference in
Oh,
it.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love
for
it.
sure.
Love it. Would never go back.
Yep, I'm the same way. Well, hey, listen, let's get these guys on the phone. I'm anxious to hear what they have to say about this.
Cool. Hey guys, Jason and I really love bringing this podcast to you week after week, but it does take a lot of time and a lot of resources to make it happen. And without these very special people, we couldn't do it on a week by week basis. Hey, Toby Tomplay, help these guys remember who they need to support.
Yes, sir. They can support Fiocchi USA, Elite Shotguns, Vero Beach Clay Shooting Sports, Score Chaser, Odo Pro Technologies, Rhino Chokes, RE Ranger, Taconic Distillery, and Atlas Trap Company.
All right, we have got another big roundtable here tonight. Welcome to the show, Mr. Scott Dixon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well.
Well, Scott, you drug a few names that people might recognize. We got Mr. Cory Kruse with us. What's up, Cory?
Howdy, fellas.
And Mr. Joe Charnigo. What's up, Joe?
Hey, how we doing, guys? Doing real good.
Hey, we're using both barrels here tonight, okay? Not just one. You're not on the trap line tonight, so.
I always have my over-under with me, so I'm good with that.
Well, guys, this is pretty cool. Scott, why don't you tell everybody first just like a general 300 foot from above overview of these new chokes that you have?
So basically, we came out with the Elite Series 3 years ago, and it's been a very successful choke line for us. So we got with Cameron Schuster to help us develop a set of chokes for the skeet shooter, and we got with Joe to develop the chokes for the trap line. And of course, Cory was instrumental in developing the original set of Elite. So now we basically have a full line, 9 choke tubes in the Elite series that can cover everything from skeet to trap.
Gotcha. So, Joe, I kind of want to start with you for a second. When Scott came to you with these choke tubes, what was your part in like research and development, or was it more like he had already built the choke and you were just doing testing for him, or how did that work out?
So they already had the chokes developed, the Gen 2s with the Elites, and he sent them up to me to try, and most of what they had were a little bit more open than what I was used to. And me being a trap shooter, we like tighter chokes, and it's just kind of the mentality I grew up with. We shoot tighter chokes and trap because everything's on edge and going away. We don't have belly or face to shoot at.
Right.
But after shooting them, he started to convince me that we didn't need as much constriction as what I always thought we did, because these things pattern so well. They hold just an awesome pattern. There's no holes in it. It's got a real hot core to it, and it was just they work really well. And I found myself going to a much more open choke than I've ever shot before. I shoot like a 17 thousandths for singles, and the first shot of doubles, 27 thousandths for the second shot of doubles, and a 37 in handicap. And I've dropped that back down to maybe like a 32 I shoot in handicap now. In years past, I'd shoot 30 thousandths for singles and doubles, both shots up close as well. So I was really impressed with how well they pattern and how well they work, and just they've been an awesome thing so far for me.
So just to give everybody like a little premise here, what loads do you shoot?
So in trap singles, I shoot 1 1/8 ounce, 1160, 8s or 7.5s, and I shoot that for singles, 16-yard line, and then also in doubles, which is shot from the 16-yard line. I shoot it in both shots. And then in handicap, 27 yards, I shoot 1 1/8 ounce, the B&P Mach 7.5 at 1,250 foot per second. Those are the two loads that I use for all of my trap stuff.
Okay. But you haven't deviated from that with the chokes. It's just the chokes that's the only things you've changed.
Yeah, the chokes are the only thing I've changed, and I've gotten a little bit more open, less constriction now, which gives me a little bit more edge, but it's a solid pattern. I get harder breaks and I get more edge on the pattern, I feel like.
Yeah. Cory, switching over to you on the sporting side now, I know you've okay, correct. I've said this a couple times on the podcast, and I've been corrected a couple times. What shoot was it that you put a set of 8s in and shot the whole daggone shoot and won it? Was that the World Championship or was that
It was the Nationals. No, not at the World Championship. Yeah, it was the 2012 Nationals. Bill McGuire had already put 100 straight up on the 5 stand. So, it was kind of just as a joke to go out there and, like, the old saying, I'd rather chip 10,000 than miss one. Well, yeah. I went in and was listening to one of the original Rhino guys, Joe Morales. He was just talking up this Skeet 2 so much. And, I was raised a trap shooter like Joe and, have a little bit of knowledge about the perfect load, bore size, choke, etc. And so I was like, well, here's a good chance. Joe, give me 2 of them Skeet 2s. I'm going to go shoot that 5 stand and see if I can tie Bill. And throughout the 5 stand, it wasn't like a charity course like you would think when you'd see 100 straight up. I mean, it was a solid score and a beefed up 5 stand. They had some 40-yard edgy middies off a tower, some longer rabbit shots and stuff that I was like, yeah, whatever. There's no way I'm gonna hit this target with this 8,000s. Well, I get with smoke balling them. So through that 5 stand, I actually shot a 99 on it. But what I had learned was the effectiveness of that Skeet 2 and just how powerful and what a tool it would be for sporting clays. So that really gave me a ton of confidence in that choke. So the next day, I went and shot a 75 target main event course and ran it, shot all 75 straight.
Wow.
Then on Sunday, went out and another 75 target course and shot a 74 on it out of 75. And the only target I missed was one where I kind of got scared that I was under choked and I put in a light mod, missed one the next station, put the Skeet 2 back in and ran the rest of the course out. So out of those last 150 of the main event, I was shooting 149 out of 150 and then a 99 on the 5 stand. So, do the math on there, 2 out of whatever, 250.
Wow. That's incredible. So, okay, now we have this new choke. What is the new choke that you are using for sporting?
The 17,000. So I figured it's just a happy medium. And it's kind of addictive choke because really no matter what you shoot, anything from 35 yards to, heck, at 85, you're crushing birds and you really get addicted to that smoke ball. And it's kind of counterproductive to want to go to that Skeet 2 because you're just not getting a nasty smoke ball. You're still getting smoke off the target, but it makes me have to kind of go back and really intentionally shoot those Skeet 2s because there's no substitute for just, what I'm talking about, that nasty smoke ball.
Oh, yeah.
But I just kind of stuck with the 17s. I shot the 17s all throughout the World Championship in 2019, all throughout the U.S. Open in 2018, state championships. I've just kind of had those chokes. If you've seen my shotgun, they're just kind of stuck in there. If I've ever been around you and tried to pull the choke out to put a Skeet 2 in for a close rabbit or something like that, I'm kind of stuck with it because I don't necessarily clean my gun as much as I should. Yeah, the 17 is kind of a hallmark of Rhino just because of the popularity it's gotten over the years. And, just the destruction that thing does to a clay target. It's pretty nasty. And Joe could vouch for that, what it does on a 16-yard line trap shot. And I bet you he would back you up and say that even if you shot that 17 from the 27, you're still going to score well, but it's just not that precision that people like Joe are really looking for when they get to the back fence.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, great minds think alike because that's what, 99% of everything that Sean and I shoot, that's what we're shooting is the 17s.
Yeah, my go-to is the 12 on the bottom and the 17 on the top, and I love that combo. Hey, Scott, I want to bounce back over to you. I know that we tried to get Cameron Schuster on, your skeet guy, but obviously Nationals are going on this week down in San Antonio. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's available to the skeet crowd and what that package entails?
So it's 2 constrictions. It's a +2, so it's 2,000s over bore, and then a -2, 2,000s under. So those are the 2 numbers that we've come up with working with Cameron on that, and they perform very, very well in those disciplines. And we've also found that a lot of people have started to take that -2 and use that for their rabbit shots in the sporting clay world. So again, the elites are very versatile, and you can kind of mix it and match based on your shooting abilities and what you're wanting to get out of it. Like Cory said, if you're wanting to ink dot stuff, then you tend to go to the little bit tighter. And if you're looking to just simply score, the elite choke allows you to open up in your constriction, but yet still get solid breaks.
Now, are you guys packaging any of these differently, like, different sets? I know originally you had the original elites, and I think they came with the 8, the 17, and the 22.
The 7, 17.
Yeah. Or 7, yeah, I'm sorry, the 7, the 17, and the 22.
We've kind of got away from the prepackaged stuff. Instead of us saying, look, this is what you got, now we have the ability to say, okay, a shooter like Scott, okay, he needs to have as much openness as he can. So, we're going to pick 3 choke tubes that fit Scott. And then if we're going with Joe or Cory or either one of you guys, we can tailor the set around your shooting abilities. And then as you get better as a shooter, you can then grow into the tighter choke tubes as you go. You can always build that set. And Jillian has done a great job with the website now that so once you establish yourself in the set, you can then purchase any of those other elite chokes as individuals. So,
gotcha. Well, please don't put Jason and I on the same level as Cory and Joe, because we're not there.
No, so. I need a negative 22. So,
oh goodness.
But I tell you what, though, I don't know, Scott, I haven't told you this, but Bruce Potter and I was down there at Blackjack, and I set up a big, huge Shondell. I scoped it with a Vortex rangefinder. The trap was sitting at 68 yards, and it was crossing from right to left, way high in the air, but it was actually a little bit quartering out. We went out, Bruce stood underneath right where the target, right where we were hitting it, and I scoped him from the stand, and it was 98 yards. And he said, all right, we're going to test these chokes, because he had never used the 12,000s before. Well, he started off with a 22 and was smoking it. Then he went to the 17, was still hammering it hard. I mean, you could barely tell a difference in the break. Then he went to the 12, and I mean, it crushed it. It didn't just break it in half. I mean, it crushed it. Then he put a 7 in. Now we're talking 98 yards. Now he's using the, I think he shoots those Remington, the nitros, the ounce and eighth, was it 1235s and 7.5s. And with a 7,000s choke, he was still smacking the hell out of it. I mean, you couldn't really tell that big of a difference between the 7 and the 17. I mean, he was just, the only real big difference was the 22. I mean, there was literally nothing left hitting the ground. It was dust. And
that's what Joe's talking about. These chokes have such a hot core, to go in there and demolish. So I mean, even if you think that you're a little under choked, you still have, if you're shooting an ounce and an eighth load, well, 7/8 ounce of it is still just going to demolish the clay, being the core. You know what I mean? Just a really dense, even pattern. Just another way to kind of look at it and why, that's so unbelievable. I mean, back in the early days, I was trying to do a little test on that 7,000s and was shooting 27-yard line trap and was still randomly getting a good break. Otherwise it would just kind of break in half and here and there if I kind of hit it up with the fringe of the pattern. But those hot cores are really, really special.
Well, and Cory, I kind of want your and Joe's opinion on this. I mean, the theory used to be you couldn't get enough choke. And now, I mean, I see not just you guys, but other top level shooters are starting to open up a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. I mean, specifically with the Rhino Chokes.
1%, you look at nationals over 4 days, it's 1 by 1 shot. I mean, if you're not playing it as a game of inches, well, good luck, because everyone else is.
But is
that more attributed, do you think, Cory, the way the technology of the barrels is becoming tighter and tighter, the constriction, or what am I saying? The forcing cone
the
changes,
diameter, the length of the forcing cones. I mean, they're all important elements, and technology's stepping up as they're doing studies. I mean, what what Rhino does with lengthening the forcing cones. I mean, we've got videos of a stock Benelli Super Black Eagle 3, and we'll shoot it in slow motion, and you'll see tons of muzzle rise, tons of felt recoil, and just by lengthening that forcing cone, which is another service of Rhino, you can tell right there automatically how much recoil that reduces, how much more stable it does for the overall pattern. So, I mean, it's kind of like just a deadly combination whenever you incorporate that sort of barrel technology with a premium choke. And that's kind of what we're all, noticing and looking at, and trying to put those different tools in our bag, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting to, though. I can't speak for anybody else's chokes, just my experience with Rhino. I don't have any reservations about putting a more open choke in than I traditionally would, I guess was my point. And you see a lot of top level shooters are starting to open up more, but I think I have more. I mean, Joe, you tell me, I think I have more confidence in a Rhino being a little bit more open because of that hot core, right?
Absolutely. I mean, for me being a trap shooter, it's been the common saying I've heard my whole life. You can shoot any choke you want in trap as long as it's full. That's what all of the old timers went by.
Right.
You had to throw as tight as you could and as much lead on the target as you could, and that's what everybody said. And 37 thousandths was the go-to for singles, handicap, second shot of doubles, everybody. That's what they shot. And that's just what I grew up around. And then to get these chokes, and I was real reluctant to try them. And I put them in my sporting clays gun at first. I got the first set that Scott sent up to me. There's a couple 7,000ths in there. And I pulled them out and looked at them like, I don't know what I'm going to do with these things. I'll never use them. Well, I took them out and I started messing around with them. And I was like, holy crap, these things actually work. And I shot Cardinal this weekend, and almost the whole course, I left 7,000ths in for the whole thing and shot them. And I'd get up to a station and be like, it's 45-yard target. I don't know. I don't feel like taking it out. And I'd shoot and I'd smoke the target. I'm like, man, every time I start to doubt these things, they're right there, even with the 7,000ths. And it's that hot core pattern. They just work. Whatever technology they've put together in that choke tube, it holds a great pattern and works really well. So you don't need all that choke that you used to back in the day when things were just a lot more crude.
Well, Scott, talk about that for a minute. I mean, what went into the research and development in order to have a more open choke like that, but still have a hot enough core to smoke something that's, hanging out there at 55 yards?
Yeah, I think it's in the details. I mean, choke technology, I mean, we're all, pretty close in our designs, but it's the little things. It's the extra polish. It's the tolerance that we hold on them. Every choke we make is one-off, handmade. There's no production line of chokes. So it's the attention to the details that make it what it is. I mean, there are engineering things in it that's a little different than everybody else's, but basically it's the attention to the details.
And Scott, one of the things that Jason and I love and we see all the time when you're out about, you got the Rhino rig floating around, you're more than willing to let people try your chokes and give them a run, right? Just to prove a point. Because
I'm not a salesman. I'm an engineer. So I said, how am I going to sell this thing? And the easiest way for me to sell this thing is to say, here, put it in your gun and go shoot for yourself. If you don't like them, don't buy them. I can probably count on one hand the number of times somebody come back and didn't purchase the choke tubes.
Yeah, and I've witnessed it many times firsthand. I've seen it at the SCTP, saw it at Nationals. I mean, you guys are always willing to let people try out your products just to prove the point. And I think that's the best way to go.
When we did our first SCTP 4 years ago, we went up there, and of course, all those kids up there are wanting to shoot that full because grandpa and dad said that's what they had to use. And we were struggling to try and get people to use the choke tubes. And that's probably one of the first places we really instituted that. Here, go shoot that. If you don't like it, then, fine. And they did. They started using those more open choke tubes, and SCTP now up at Nationals is probably one of our best events because it's really starting to catch on up there that those trap kids can open up those choke tubes. They don't have to shoot those full and extra full chokes anymore.
Right.
I got the same thing. Scott sent me a lot of chokes up here that I've got a league at my house and 45 guys that come shoot here. And I let guys try them. We put them in their guns and they try them. And most of the guys will start off with a 17 and that's what they shoot. And every single one of them, I've noticed, the more they shoot, the more they go to the open choke because they realize that it patterns and works so well that you don't need as much choke as you normally would in a factory choke tube, say. And it's been real impressive for me to watch that and just see they'll start out, they'll buy a little bit tighter choke, and then they hit targets and they're just leaving soot balls in the air. And so they start to realize, well, maybe I don't need quite this tight. And then they'll order a 17 or they'll order a 12 or they'll order a 7. And then they end up with the whole set. But they find themselves shooting the more open chokes more often than what they thought they would. And the same thing happened to me. I got all tight chokes. And now when I go shoot clays, I'm looking for my open chokes when I go because they work so well and they pattern so well.
Well, Scott, just for some clarity, I think the last time we had you on, you were just coming out with the 12,000s in the Elite Series. Tell everybody exactly what is new and what has just came out that's in addition to the Elite Series.
Okay, so the original Elite was the 7, 17, 22. And we noticed that there was that gap between the 7 and the 17 that just really was a big step up for some shooters, beginners, if you will, to go from a 7 to a 17. They weren't ready to make that jump yet. So we went back and we looked at some different sizes and we ended up with a 12 that filled that void. So now for sporting clay, we have what we call sporting clay light, which we would say would be a 7, 12, 17, or a sporting clay heavy, which would be a 12, 17, 22. Okay, so that covers our sporting clay. For the skeet, we mentioned earlier, it's a +2 and a -2. And then for the trap, it's the 17, trap light is 17, 27, 32. Trap heavy is 22, 27, 32.
Okay. Got you. And the one thing I have to ask this on a podcast where I'm basically calling you out because I've been asked 10,000 times. You did those really cool covers, wraps, I don't know what you want to call it, sleeves. You did those really cool sleeves for me on my 17s where one of them's an American flag and the other one has We the People on it. Is that something that you offer for anybody? I mean, they can go get a sleeve made for their Rhino Chokes?
Yes, we do have them to offer. Now, with those, there's a little bit more care that has to be gone through in the cleaning process because it is a hydro dip finish, basically a painted finish. So we've had some people put it in some of the cleaners out there, and they pull it out, and it's all gone. So you do have to have a little more care in that, and then. For us to replace the sleeves, we actually have to bring it back here to the shop and machine them off. We don't get to cut them off like the anodized ones out in the field.
Right, but if they're ordering a new set, let's say they're ordering the new 12, for example, and they want to get something with a sleeve on it, they can order that ahead of time, right?
Yeah, so they can call Jillian at the office, and she can go over what we have stocked in the sleeves. We have, like you said, the We the People, the American flag. We have a colonial American flag. We have a blackout flag. What else do we have, Jill?
Cheetah.
We have some cheetah prints that have been popular in some of the venues.
Well, we need to get Cory Kruse and Joe Charnigo here to have some dead pair sleeves on there. So,
support. The thing is, we're limited right now to whatever we can get with off the shelf film for the hydro dip.
Right.
We've had a lot of inquiries through our collegiate program asking if they could get their logos and their brands put on the sleeves, and it's all dependent on whether or not we can find somebody to make us custom film for the hydro dip process, and then, of course, make it affordable as well.
Gotcha.
Hey, Jason, I was just going to kind of cut in there. You might even whenever you edit this and put it in there, that you kind of have a translation model of what, so your average listener, when we start talking 7, 17, 22, all these different, constrictions, we get it. But your average guy, I have this conversation a lot, like with even C-class sporting clay shooters. What's a 5? What's a 7? I don't get it. And just the 0,000s is a cylinder, 5,000s is a skeet. IC is a 10,000s, et cetera. Just kind of put that out there so they can actually realize that these are just kind of hybrid numbers that are coming up that adapt to the new development of performance target loads and ammunition and different bore diameters and different shotguns, because most people don't realize that a Blaser bore diameter might differ from a Kolar bore diameter versus a Beretta bore diameter with different length of forcing cones, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to figure out, where that sweet spot is for your particular gun, and that Rhino is the one that actually has the options out there, and to measure not so much just by the number, but what, like Joe's talking about, measure it by the breaks that you're getting. And then man, I felt like I made a bad shot on that, but I still hit the target hard. That's kind of what we're going for. And then back to the big point of the Elite series is that we're giving you a 3-set option with some built-in savings in there. You buy 3, you get a little discount, and it's kind of really all you need versus, that 3-choke package or, the heavy or the light. And then versus back in the day, we had those, 9-choke boxes, and a wrench and grease and whatnot. Every time you walk up to a new station, unscrew this one and that one and put another one in to where you're making a 5,000ths difference for every single.
We're lost him. Hold on a second. Pause.
I'll continue on that if I may. Whenever you come out to the events, whenever we can, we always request to try and be close to the pattern board. We believe solidly that you've got to go to the pattern board. You've got to put it on paper. Your gun, your ammo, your shooting style will make it different. You and I cannot have, the same choke tube and get the same choke tube result. So we preach, go to the pattern board. You got to go. You've got to understand what those choke tubes are doing. And then once you do that, go out, like Cory said, and look at your brakes.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point that Cory made, though. I've had a lot of people in not just, I don't want to say lower classes, but newer shooters. They came up to me and, what choke is that? Well, it's 17,000s. Well, what in the world is that? Because they know, skeet, modified, light modified, whatever. And I have to explain to them, well, it's between a light modified and a modified. And they're like, well, why would you want that? I'm like, it's more versatile. I mean, if you're taking out a light mod, putting in a mod, this is leave it in the gun and go, but that's a good point, Cory. It's in between what the standard has been, is if I'm saying that right, Scott?
Yes. The
Elite series is basically in between what the standard has been. So your 7,000s is going to be between, a skeet and an improved cylinder. And, the 17 is going to be between a light mod and a mod and on up the line.
Yeah, exactly. If you try to redefine what the standard is, I mean, that the standard is very outdated. Target setters have evolved a ton. The equipment, the shotgun bores, everything's evolved. And I feel like, these Elite Series chokes are the only ones that's kind of staying, with the newest updates. And at the end of the day, you start measuring your scores and your brakes and your confidence level that you have to stick that choke in there and ink dot that target. Or if you're just happy with cracking them in half, well, dadgum, put that skeet 2 in and just rock it. I mean, Obviously what we said earlier, you can chip 99 and still get runner up.
Yeah. And Joe, you can speak to this because you swap up ammo between 16-yard and back at handicap. How a choke performs under one load might perform differently under another load, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the speed, the the charge, the 1.1 ounce versus 1 ounce. I mean, you're going to get a different pattern on it, and then the different speeds. A slower shell, you're going to usually hold a tighter pattern with that. So in singles, we shoot that 1160 1.1 ounce, and you get a really tight, hard break with that. And you go to handicap, you put a heavier load in there, you're going to have more felt recoil. You're going to have more energy on the target, but you're also going to get more holes in the pattern, because when that shell goes off, you'll distort the shot in the bottom of the cup. So shell technology has a little bit to do with that, different wads and stuff to help with that. But every little detail that you can do to help out and give yourself the most advantage is what I want to do when I'm out there. Every target counts. Every target makes a difference when you're competing at the top level. So I want to take every advantage I can. I get all my barrels ported, even my unsingle for shooting trap singles and handicap. When I shot an unsingle, I had that ported because I'm a believer in taking that recoil out of the front end. In doubles and shooting sporting clays, I want to have both barrels ported. When you shoot, you can see the breaks happen. So Rhino's been able to do everything for me there as far as porting my guns, giving me the best choke to use. And that's just part of the game. You want to get the best equipment and the most advantage you can get.
Well, Scott, I tell you what, you got to be proud having guys like Cory and Joe representing your brand. Obviously, these guys know what they're doing. They're out there competing week after week. Are we missing anything right now with what you guys are bringing to the table with your chokes or anything else at Rhino?
That's pretty much it right now. And, Rhino is very blessed with the family of shooters that we have. And we have newcomers all the time. And it's very humbling to us. We're just a small family-owned company. And for people to go out of their way and do what they do for us, it just like I said, it's so humbling. I mean, we just had the hurricane come through here last week, and my phone rang Monday just nonstop. People calling, "Are you guys okay? Do you need anything? Can we do anything for you?" We were very fortunate in that, the shop withstood everything. The house withstood everything. There's a lot of people who were very less fortunate than we were, but for that phone to ring as much as it did Monday, people just genuinely calling to make sure we were okay. It's I say it every time I talk with you guys. It's so humbling to have the family that we have generated through a simple little choke tube.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It is awesome. I can feel you there on that one, Scott. I had a ton of phone calls myself, and it was kind of humbling, the amount of people in the community, the shooting community, that reached out just to ask if I was okay, if the family was all right. So I feel you on that one. Scott, are we leaving anything out, buddy? I mean, before we let you go, we haven't had you on in a minute here.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's it. So I think we've completed that Elite Series line. We do have some new things on the drawing board. For the next go around of choke tubes. We've got our outdoor series choke tubes are coming alive really well for us. So there's plenty of new stuff coming out of Rhino. But right now, I think we've completed that Elite Series, and in any of those competition disciplines, there's a Rhino choke tube that will fit your needs. We would love to be able to help you choose that right choke tube. So the phone. Give us a call on the phone, 1-800-226-3613. Jillian does a great job of interacting with the customers and making sure that they get not just a choke tube, but the right choke tube.
And don't forget, for our friends across the pond, you now have Rhino Chokes in Europe.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. AJ Distributors over there. Yep. They're doing a great job for us. They're moving a lot of product over there. So we're very excited about that.
And I know Scott mentioned the phone number, but if anybody's driving down the road or whatever, just look down in the show description. Rhino Chokes is right there every week, week in and week out. Easy enough to find them. Get a hold of, call Sean Alley. He's got nothing else to do during the day. You
That's
can call
right.
him and he'll direct you.
I'll brag on them.
Yeah. But Cory, Joe, both you guys are driving down the road. Cory, I know you're with your family. Joe looks, I don't know, are you parked somewhere? It looks like you're just sitting there.
Yeah, I'm parked at the house. My kid just got off the school bus here, so he's itching to come see me, and we're gonna go ride around in his little razor out here.
There you go. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys spending some time with us. I know you're both busy with family and with work and everything else. Like I said, Cory, you're driving down the road with family in the car, so appreciate you spending some time with us, man, for sure.
Y'all bet, man. You bet.
Guys, I appreciate you having us on.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, we're going to see you down at Nationals. Is there any other events throughout the rest of the year you want to let people know where you're going to have the rig?
Nationals is going to be our last sporting clay event. We do have an event in Arkansas in November for the duck hunter. So anybody that is the duck hunter will be in Arkansas at the Wings on the Prairie Festival for the week. So come by and see us there.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate it very much. Anything we can do to help any one of you, just reach out to us, man. We're here for you.
Guys, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Joe, Cory, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us on.
Have a good one.
Well, Sean Alley, you were pretty quiet there. Were you just soaking it all in or what?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been dealing with Rhino Chokes for quite a while. Scott's a great guy, great company. They're passionate about what they do. We've been around them so much that, I mean, they're like second family. So I think when you have guys on like Cory and Joe, especially, Joe being specifically trap, Cory being specifically sporting, you really get a high-end opinion of how these chokes work. It's not just us on the microphone saying Rhino Chokes are great. Go use a Rhino Choke. No. You've really got, Cory Kruse telling you this is what he uses and this is what he loves about the choke. And then Joe's right there behind him, backing him up. So, again, trap shooter, sporting clay shooter, and the other fella from Skeet, we would have had him on, Cameron. But obviously he was busy at the Nationals this week and couldn't make it. But again, there's a lot of good shooters out there using Rhino Chokes, using the guys at Rhino to do their barrel porting, doing the forcing cones, and all the other work that they're more than capable of doing. So if you're thinking about having any at all work done to your gun, I would definitely give the guys at Rhino a call.
Yeah, absolutely. We've said it 100 times in the last few years since they've joined our show is, I would never hesitate to have them do any of the work that they do to our guns. And I love their chokes. I love their products. So,
yes.
Speaking of products and speaking of our sponsors, I'm just going to drop just a little itty bitty teeny tiny little hint. Fiocchi's got a couple new loads coming out, Mr. Alley.
I have heard the rumors.
A little birdie told me all about it. I cannot wait to try these shells.
That'd be cool.
I even know the person that's doing some R&D on them. I'm excited. Anytime you get new toys to play with, Sean. So.
Oh, it's what makes the sport exciting. Get something new before everybody else does.
That's right. Sincerely, we just can't thank them enough. People like Elite Shotguns, Fiocchi USA, Rhino Chokes, Atlas Traps, Odo Pro Technologies, RE Ranger, Vero Beach Clay Shooting Sports, Taconic Distilleries, Score Chaser. Just absolutely love the people that work with us. Really, truly appreciate them. They have awesome products. And, Sean, it's humbling to know that these products that we had used for so long and that we trusted out on the range have backed us on what we're doing,
Yep, absolutely. And, for everybody listening, you got to keep it in context. I mean, this show takes a tremendous amount of effort, both, time and resources for both Jason and I. Without these sponsors, it's very doubtful we could keep this thing going as long as we have.
Yep. And I thank her 1,000 times over each and every day, each and every week, each and every month, each and every year. But I don't do it enough publicly. So thank you to my wife for all her hard work on these podcasts, because she really does do a really good job. So
yeah, we love you, Jules.
It'd be nice if Sean and I could make her job a little easier. We weren't too complete knuckleheads, but we end up giving her content sometimes. It's like, what do you want me to do with this? So, but thank you, Jules. We love you. We appreciate all your hard work. Sean Alley, every week, what's our message?
Well, take somebody new shooting. Get out there, put a gun in their hand, introduce them to the sport. Whether you take them to the range, take them to a charity event, take them to some kind of a corporate shoot, whatever. If you have people that have any kind of interest, or you think would have any kind of interest in this sport, you're doing everybody a disservice by not inviting them out with you to go shooting. Most clubs have gun rentals. Most clubs have instructors. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, just get them out there. And I mean, I guarantee you, the first time somebody breaks their first clay, the time they break their first clay, you will see a smile light up. The light bulb will go on, and it's all downhill from there, right, Jay?
Yep, it solves itself 100%. And hey, look, if they got a little bit of land, they want to practice, they want to get better. Any of you listening want to, man, give me a call. Atlas Traps, Rainier Clay Bots. My towers are now coming available, 12, 20, and 28-foot towers, all aluminum construction. So really excited about that. There's lots of ways we can help. And if you're down here in the Florida area and you're a new shooter, new to intermediate, and you want a lesson, get a hold of me. I'll go shoot with you. Do the best I can to help you. So
yeah. And last but not least, let's not forget to plug that Dead Pair Blast coming up here. We're starting into October now. Weather's going to be turning colder. So for everybody in the northern states, if you're looking for an escape in early December to get the heck out of Dodge, Vero Beach is pretty daggone nice the first week of December.
Absolutely. How can you beat palm tree, sand, and targets set by these two morons, right, Sean?
You can't. Maybe the latter part you can, but the first part you can't.
That's right. And remember, when it's all over with, there's time for one more shot with Taconic Distilleries, right? So
absolutely,
they're going to be on hand. So, but anyway, Sean Alley, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate it. And until next week, my friend,
we'll see you all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair. The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Elite Shotguns and Vero Beach Clay Shooting Sports and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Big thanks to the following sponsors: RE Ranger, Odo Pro Technologies, Rhino Chokes, Score Chaser, Taconic Distillery, and Atlas Trap Company.